Hello and welcome everyone to a new video here on my channel. And I know it's quite a while since my last video. I was in Croatia several weeks, and when I came back I had lots of things to do, and it was all a bit chaotic, but yeah, and I just don't have the time to record a new video. But now I'm finally back, and yeah, today I would like to finally start the new mini-series that I've announced back over a month ago, which is script writing techniques. Now, for those of you who may not remember, I've announced that in this series I wanna discuss about if you have a finished script, how you can actually improve it by certain techniques. And the technique I want to discuss today is, I think, a very important one. It is setup and payoff. Now, I'm sure you all know what setup and payoff is, but just in case, a setup is when a story establishes something earlier, and a payoff is the proper conclusion to that setup. In the words of Anton Chekhov, he actually said something very good. If there is a gun hanging on the wall, make sure that it is used at some point in your story, which means that you should use everything that you establish earlier on. And setup and payoff is actually something that many big movies actually struggle with. When you look at certain blockbusters, for example, just big blockbusters that come out today, they are often written in a very simple concept, namely the form of, and then this happens, and then this happens, and then this happens, and then this happens. And don't get me wrong, this is definitely a way to write a script. It's a simple way, but if it works, that's good. But setup and payoff makes a movie a lot more interesting to watch, which is why we should always use it if we can. Now, how could a setup and payoff properly work? Well, let me give you some examples from famous movies. Let's take, for example, the original Die Hard movie. Early in the movie, when John McClane is in a plane, a person next to him says, you should walk bare feet, that helps against a jet lag. And if you know what happens later in the movie, well, he has to walk with his bare feet over broken glass. Setup and payoff. Or let's, for example, take the movie Aliens. Early in the movie, we see Ripley actually training with the power loader. And later, in the final battle of the movie, Ripley uses that power loader to fight against the alien queen. Or let's take an example from a new movie, The Dark Knight. Early in the movie, Harvey Dent says the line, you either die a hero or you live long enough to become the villain. And if you've seen the movie, well, you know what happens to him later in the movie. Now, these are just a few examples of how you can do setup and payoff. But as I said earlier, the most important thing is, and also what Anton Chekhov said, the most important thing with setup and payoff is everything that is established in your movie should be important later in some way or another. Because here's the problem if you don't do setup and payoff properly. If you, for example, just do a setup without a proper payoff, it feels very unsatisfying for the viewer. A setup without a payoff is basically just an unnecessary detail. And unnecessary details should generally be avoided in your movie. Now, the final thing is that please consider setup and payoff do not always have to happen within the same movie. If you, for example, do a series of movies, you can basically use the first movie as a setup, so you set up many things, and the payoffs come in later movies. However, if you do that, please make sure that you have a proper plan how to pay off every setup you make in the first movie, because otherwise you may end up with the Star Wars sequel trilogy problem, where one creative makes the setup and another creative makes a payoff that isn't even fitting the setup. And you should definitely try to avoid that. All right, everyone. That's it for today's video. I hope you like it. If yes, please consider giving it a thumbs up. Also, if you want to leave a comment, tell me, what do you think is a great setup and payoff? You can also follow me on Instagram. The link for that is down in the description as always. Thank you very much for watching this video till the end. I hope to see you in my next video. Until then, have a great time and of course, keep watching movies.